Okay, so we have a really exciting agenda today. We are going to hear from the planning committee from the Global Feminist convening in Rabat. We're going to share what that convening entailed. We're going to hear from a really amazing mini panel of 3 incredible activists and advocates from the MENA region. We're going to show you the Rabat Roadmap, which we have worked with a really exciting data and design team to make interactive and useful, we hope. And then we're going to hear from you. We have some time for discussion at the end. We're really interested in concrete actions to take forward our collective advocacy at the nexus of economic, gender, and climate justice, and for the liberation of all people and the end to occupation everywhere. We are going to, what was I going to say? We are really excited also to be launching this event this week in the context of the Draw the Line campaign for economic justice, which we know many of you are involved in. We've also seen a lot of threats to the Draw the Line campaign, Zoom bombing of the Draw the Line action so far this week. So we have a whole team on hand ready to handle that if that happens. We know that can be quite disturbing, and then perversely also a sign of our power, that our spaces are seen as worth interrupting. That said, it's very uncomfortable to experience, even if it means our movement's getting stronger. So we will do our best to avoid that. And if something does happen and we're unable to control it within a minute or so, we will close the Zoom and email a new link. So hopefully that won't happen, but just to kind of put you on alert and let you know that we'll do everything we can to be prepared for that. But now I'm going to pass to Shireen Talat, who was the brains and the sort of generator of this initial idea, which we've been so happy to carry forward with a truly incredible and inspiring ecosystem of activists and feminists and economic justice and climate justice actors, primarily in the MENA region and the global south, but also all over the world. So Shireen, thank you so much, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Katie. I'm very happy to cooperate with you. I would like to thank all the colleagues, but first of all, allow me to thank Katie, because I share all my ideas and all my challenges with her. I would like also to thank the colleagues that were all the time with us in this journey of thinking and organizing, and you will learn all about it today. I would like in the beginning to say thank you to all the friends and all the colleagues that have joined us today for the launch of the Rabat Roadmap and the Rabat Declaration 2025. From Rabat, in the heart of the MENA region, we are gathering today to launch Rabat Roadmap, and this is not only a document. This is a collective commitment, a vital commitment, born from struggles coming from Palestine to Sudan, passing by Iraq. We are gathering here today because our region carries a long history of resistance to colonialism, to war. And despite occupation and hunger, we were never defeated. Women and vulnerable categories have always been in the forefront. We have always been formulating new solutions, new ideas. We are calling for a radical transformation of feminism, where we have at the center care and climate justice. We are voicing our demands today. We are calling for the sovereignty of the peoples of the South. We want all the illegal debts to be unconditionally abolished. We want a just taxation system that is progressive, that redistributes the wealth that can finance climate justice through grants and not debts or loans, and that does not criminalize migration. From the heart of this vision, we see Palestine and Sudan standing, and we see that in Rabat, this is not only, it's not actually a conclusion, it's a start. It's a way that we can all together work. We call upon you all to join us, and we can, not only we can, we must work for a world built on solidarity, equality, and justice. Thank you very much, and over to you, Katie.
Thank you so much, Shireen. I'm now going to pass to Yamina and then Trisha to tell us about their involvement in the convening and why we're here.
Thanks so much, Katie. Thanks, Shireen. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I mean, I work for the Gender Development Network GADN in the UK, and I was part of the co-organizing committee for this convening, as well as Trisha. And together under Trisha's leadership, we've prepared some words for today, just to share an overview of how we co-organized the convening, what our objectives were, and what we're taking forward. And it's really nice to see so many of the participants on the call today as well. So hi, everyone. So yeah, just to share a bit about what we did. So basically in May this year, a group of us, of movement builders, of feminists, of economic and climate justice actors gathered in Rabat in Morocco, but not as individuals, not as isolated movements, but in solidarity and with the common intention to reclaim our futures. The convening, as you know, was put together by MENAFem together with WEDO in collaboration with other organizations from the Global South Majority, as well as others from the Global North Minority and Solidarity. The convening was really supposed to be a dream space for us to create a collective feminist alternative that puts people and the planet at the center of rebuilding efforts for a just and sustainable future for all. And we carried the voices, the cries, and the rage of those who are suffocated by the boot of neoliberalism, extractivism, capitalism, racism, the rise of anti-gender and anti-rights actors and governments, fascism, and the escalation of militarism. As part of the convening, we didn't just put together panels of experts, but we really co-created the space to allow all of us as participants and co-organizers to take center stage and to share our expertise and experiences. And we did all of that across Arabic and English. The convening really wasn't about experts speaking in abstract terms while the world burns. And the space was not a bargain for yet another taste of a poisoned pie, but a call to bake a whole new pie. Because our current systems are built upon stolen livelihoods, colonial debt, the continuous erasure of people's identities, and the blood of the people of Palestine, Sudan, Congo, and many others. And so we really wanted to root our discussions in the realities of the region and center the MENA and the Swana region struggles and voices in our conversation. We carried with us the women in Morocco's agricultural fields who have lost their children over poisoned water, the bodies in Tunisia constantly denied access to fresh and clean water, the young feminists imprisoned for speaking out, and the families in countries strangled by debt forced to choose between a meal and survival. We grappled with hard truths as well as part of the convening, for example, that our taxes are continuously funding genocide, that the current global financial architecture is an instrument of neocolonial violence, and that efforts to reform it don't seem to lead anywhere. That our words like development and peace have all been co-opted and weaponized to exploit our bodies even further and to displace us from our lands and justify surveillance. And that we must dream, that we must reimagine, that we must demand and continue to build collective hope for systemic transformation to happen. And I'll pass over to dear Trisha for the rest of this.
Thank you, Amina. I know you talked to who was in the room. All right.
For those who joined us just now, we have interpretation into Arabic, but it's under Japanese. Thank you. Trisha?
Thank you. So I'll be talking about the reason as to why we co-convened the space, but also why it was necessary for the space to happen, truly, just to begin from where Yamina stopped. And it's just to really say that one of the biggest reasons why we co-convened this space was because of the interconnectedness of our liberation, looking at the injuries on the bodies and how indifferent all these are, that an injury on the body of someone in Gaza is the same injury on the body of someone in Sudan, in Congo, and that is the same injury that is impacted on a body in Argentina of a person struggling with the current government's oppression, but also the same injury that affects the body in Kenya with the youth and the women challenging austerity, but it's also the same injury that the bodies in Nepal have interfaced with, looking at the government oppression in there, as well as Indonesia and all the other groups in the world. So we really co-convene the space because we know that we cannot dismantle systems of oppression alone and in isolations, but to also remember that in rebuilding, we do need a movement and we do need a collection of care and a harbor of growth. So because of the current existing crisis, we face and also to acknowledge that all these crises are very transnational, be it debt, be it austerity, be it climate, be it inequality, be it militarization, you can name it all. Our solidarity for that has to also be very transnational and very, very collective. So this does not mean that we all agreed on everything. I know there's a lot of text here and there, but in the end, that's why we have the declaration on the few that we did agree on in the process of rebuilding. So we came together with different personalities, repressing feminist and allied organizations and movements, and we were far from homogeneous. What united us most was the openness to learn from each other and the imperative that we must join forces to fight back on the current systems of oppression that continue to dominate over our bodies, but also the systems that are very, very anti-human, and to also rebuild a world a feminist just world that is anti-colonial and anti-imperial, and to come up with alternatives that are for the people and for the planet. So because of the time for polite advocacy, one of the main other reasons as to why we really organize the space is because the time for polite advocacy is over. And we find ourselves living through several actively live-streamed genocides and a rollback on fascism, but also a complete collapse of the current multilateral system. So our movements have historically been put in boxes and have historically been isolated. So that has been the only way in which we have been required to work. So looking at such a space is that the space then was supposed to bring the collectiveness of all of us to come together, to step aside of those boxes that were designed, but to also remember our collective power. So this convening was our mental clarity that as feminists, we must always challenge the status quo and we must do this together. And after a lot of disagreeing and agreeing, and having a very much needed dream utopia, we left with more than just one document or more than just one declaration. We left with a roadmap to guide our collective action, and together we are taking the mandate to demand for a lot of feminist alternatives, including a demand for the cancellation of odious, illegitimate, and colonial debt, a demand for centuries of reparations, to fight for the global financial architecture that serves the people and the planet, and not the richest 1% only, but also a financial system that centers war should be one that should be challenged by all. But we also see that one of the other things we really did agree on is we must insist on climate reparations and not climate finance disguised as debt. But also, above all and everything, is the main thing that we are taking forward will be our collective solidarity across movements, across continents, and across planets. So but also the ability for us to move freely and to associate freely with each other and speak to each other with warmth. So as we meet today, we carry a lot of hopes and a lot of commitment. to debt justice, to feminist tax justice, and care, but also justice on our bodies. So we carry a lot of collective refusal to false solutions and a call for demilitarization. We also carry forward a fight against unjust occupations and erasure of our identities. We are also carrying the comfort that in solidarity is how we rebuild, and having such a convening with a representation from both global South majority and the global North minority, we carry forward a hope that a reconnect has been made to challenge the current systems of oppression. So this declaration is not just another document to be shelved, but it is our guide and our hope that it will be that guide where we will stand as we stand at the front lines, really, in challenging the current systems of oppression. So the Rabat Declaration is just a rehearsal of a world we would want to create together, but also our manifesto to a just and sustainable future for all. We are rebuilding our world, for we are not free until all of us are free. Thank you. I'll let her continue. Over to you.
Thank you so very much. Yeah, thank you so very much, Trisha and Yamina, for really giving us a sense of what the convening was like, what we were trying to do, and what we're trying to build with all of you. So thank you. I'm going to pass to Shireen for our panel discussion, which Shireen will chair.
Thank you very much, Katie, Yanina, Patricia. I always like to work together and to share ideas, maybe sometimes even difficulties. With what we work on together, what we achieve together with everyone that attended and that is still supporting this roadmap. I am very happy that I have with me today my colleagues, my comrades that had a role with that roadmap and work for the Rabat Declaration. That is a document that is extremely important, that defines a roadmap, that defines what we want for the future. I will start with my dear friend and colleague, Fatma Afid, from the climate agreement from Morocco. She will talk to us about the Rabat Declaration. It is a great opportunity for this declaration now. And I hope that all my colleagues, Katie, Tara, Manar, and everyone else, I ask please to put the Rabat link on the chat so everyone can join and sign it. Fatina, are you here?
Don't see her in the participants list. I think maybe she dropped. Ah, okay.
Can you hear me? Yes, can. Good evening, Shireen. Good evening to all the comrades. Thank you. Good evening, Katie. I would like to thank you for organizing this webinar that has a very high importance, especially that, as Katie and Shireen have mentioned, this is a very important milestone for the Rabat Declaration that is considered like an agenda or an, a work plan for our work and for the efforts that we want in the southern countries. I have worked on the redrafting of the declaration. In a summary, the declaration is available, but I have decided to make a shorter summarized version so that we can discuss it and for our friends to be able to do so. with this declaration, with the MENA region, we see that the global South, particularly the women and girls that are marginalized, are not only victims of colonialism, but they are also in the first lines for other difficulties. This declaration mentions all the sexism, the inequality that is making the lives of women harder. Particularly, this declaration calls for an international global system based on sovereignty, social justice, economic justice, and gender equality. During the meeting in Rabat, the six main requests have been formulated, and they are present in the copy you have. This Rabat Declaration, first of all, calls for sovereignty, and this is very important, and it calls for the democracy of international economy and for the adoption of systems, alternative systems that are based on that work, and to be able to compensate for the people of the South, to build a feminist economy that strengthens the collaboration, that helps with the environmental support, that adopts the principles of self, of autonomy, of energy, and of food security, talking about this equality instead of going to other problems. These tools that we have today are linked to that point. The third main request is to ask for a system that is fair, a fiscal system that is fair, that would decrease the cost of unpaid care work that is mostly borne by women. And the next point is the climate equality, which is very important with the carbon emissions that puts women at the heart of it. The fifth request that is linked to Pakistan, which is again an opportunity to show unconditional solidarity with Palestine against the genocide and the occupation, also with Sudan and Yemen. And so we are talking about our struggle in order to reach freedom and to channel the resources for care and for other better causes. The last point is ending the criminalization of immigration, where immigrants and displaced are considered criminals, whereas it should be considered as a main right. These are the main points that are mentioned in the Rabat Declaration and that are detailed in the declaration. In the Rabat Declaration, we call upon all of the democratic and progressive regimes and systems to build a world that is based on justice, on sustainability, and that is free of all hegemony, exploitation, and dominance. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our dearest Fatina. Thank you very much as you took us to a journey across the Rabat Declaration. We don't want to forget that we are in the framework of a campaign to draw the line. So let's draw the line against everything unfair. Let's draw the line against the policies that are unfair, against debt, against climate crises, against climate criminals. Let's draw the line and let us work together against colonialism. And here I would like to call our colleague Amin Kharat, who is a researcher in policies and who is also a member of MENAFem. I thank you very much, Amin, for being with us. The floor is yours. Amin, are you with us? Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, all our friends. I am very honored to be in this sphere of activism that I think shows great understanding of the challenges we are facing today with human rights and justice in general. Fatima presented the main elements of the declaration. Maybe I would like to talk more about the context in which we reached this declaration and why it is important for us as human rights defenders, particularly in our region now and in the international and global context. We are all witnessing the horrors of imperialism in a multidimensional way. We cannot forget the context where we are. We are witnessing a real genocide live on our screens. We have a decrease of human rights in the world. We have dictatorships that have fallen, and we are also witnessing a whole global system falling. And for us as South countries, southern countries, we know what is there. And the problem is that some don't even care about the facade anymore. One more thing about the importance of our participation in this dynamic to confirm, first of all, the necessity for solidarity, solidarity that is cross boundaries, solidarity with all categories, and especially the most vulnerable ones, such as the immigrants. Today, a part of what we are struggling with in Tunisia is linked to political prisoners and immigrants as well. The objectives that we have with the Rabat Declaration is to remove the militarization, to face all this that has a clear link to imperialistic objectives and endeavors, and this is a link to accessing the resources of the South by nourishing the conflicts in Yemen, in Sudan, and African countries by continuing with that colonialist path, even the immigration and what we see with a great disrespect of the rights to immigrants, the policy of militarization of the European borders. This also includes the social rights, the economic rights, as lowering the spending on that in the world comes in parallel with the increase of investment and expenditure on security, defense, and weapons. And it is definitely not to defend the rights of people, but it is rather for imperialistic agenda objectives. And this is also linked to policies that are international and that impose this on important things such as social rights, and as they don't care for the access of people to human rights and to their rights in our region and in the world. So these are the reasons for which we were participating with all our enthusiasm with our friends in the Rabat Declaration and working on that roadmap in order for us to structure our demands with that international system that is decaying. And if we leave the scene vacant, then we might see what we will not like. And so we had to focus on the solidarity between people and on what they want. And this was clear in the support of the Palestinian people through the flotilla that went out to say that regardless of the regimes and their tendencies, solidarity between people is stronger and is capable of rewriting history and putting it on the right path. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Amin. I would like to add that we are not only in a very difficult time, but it is crucial the Rabat meeting about the justice and the environment justice was very important for the MENA region. From the heart of the land that is connected today to resistance, be it on the level of Africa or Asia, we are putting together both continents. It was highly important to discuss as well, not only what we ask for, but what we are committed to. And the Rabat Declaration calls us for a commitment. Whoever signs or endorses the Rabat Declaration and adopts it has commitments. We have requests from the global south to be endorsed by those who follow the same principle from the global north. And so the Rabat Declaration ought to be a global gathering for feminists that are in line together, that are on the same wavelength ideologically, politically, activism-wise, and on the level of theory as well. And here I would like to address my friend and one of the founders of MENAFem from the Egyptian environment justice as well. She is Suzanne Nada, to ask her why is it necessary to have a roadmap that is trans-regions, that holds, though, the flag of the Global South. Suzanne, you have the floor.
I think she should be able to know.
Yes, Suzanne, we can hear you. Good evening. I'm very happy to be with a large group of activists. It was only normal for the Rabat Roadmap to stem from the heart of this region, the region that is highly struggling, be it from genocide, from famine. Egypt is at the heart of the region. From the north, we have the genocide in Gaza. From the south, we have the different Sudanese tribes struggling in Yemen. We have lengthy attacks from the Israeli enemy, and so we needed to find a way out on the local level and on the international level. On the local level, we suffer a lot. We suffer from debt. We suffer from the need to work with the World Bank and with the International Monetary Fund. Can you hear me? So this region, as I said, is highly suffering, and this has reached more difficulty and more limitations for the citizens, particularly for women that are marginalized a few days or weeks ago. One girl died on the shoulder of her mom because her mom wanted to take her to the doctor and she couldn't get a day off. This region needs a new vision. Women and marginalized people need to come along to start a roadmap and launch it. I hope that this roadmap will be implemented. We need a number of feminist organizations, and we have a lot of defenders of these rights to declare a step forward to face what we are going through from the exploitation in the region, from the climate change that is affecting women particularly, and the marginalized groups. The amount of debt that are imposed on the region is not normal within a dictatorship that is ruling us. Most of the times, we need to find a way to be able to let go of all this black reality. I think that a roadmap coming from the heart of the region with the effort of feminist groups and activists, those who believe in the importance of social justice, of climate justice, of the importance of the well-being of citizens. We really needed to review and redraft this roadmap. I hope that this roadmap will include many from the groups and that will have
وأن يتم التضامن معها، ليس التضامن وفقط، ليس بالتوقيع وفقط، إنما بإرساء خطة للعمل لنخرج من هذه المأساة التي نعيشها. شكرا.
شكرا جدا يا سوزان. سنخرج من هذه المأساة التي نعيشها بقوتنا وأيضا تضامننا. والتضامن هو مفهوم مهم جدا جدا، ليس فقط يعني الآن وقت الفعل، ليس وقت الكلام والشعارات. وعلى ذكر التضامن،
Sorry, just one second. I'm so sorry to interrupt. We don't have the interpretation at the moment. So just want to make sure we can get it back up. So sorry, if you wouldn't mind, just one second.
Of course.
Rana and Elsa, is everything okay?
أحب أنوه إن إحنا للأسف بنتعرض لهجمات إلكترونية من هاكرز، وهو أمر يحدث منذ بداية إطلاق حملة درو ذا لاين على مدار الأسبوع. We are being يعني I just want to mention that since the start of the Draw the Line campaign, we've been facing a lot of hack attempts. So please bear with us.
Thank you.
So I was saying, because as Susanna was mentioning, this very deep hole that we are living and burden that we're living under need to have an immediate action, and this action need to build on solidarity. And here solidarity means actions, doable, and a lot of activism, and a lot of building the narrative and decolonializing our narrative. That is what solidarity means to us. So in terms of solidarity، على ذكر التضامن الذي هو ضد الاستعمار الآن، أريد أن أتوجه إلى زميلتي كيتي توبن لعرض خارطة طريق الرباط. I want to mentioning solidarity now and anti-colonial solidarity. We want to go through the Rabat Roadmap with my colleague and friend Katie Toppin. Katie?
Thank you so much, Shireen. Okay, and thank you also from my side to the incredible speakers so far, both our panel and the intro from Trisha and Yamina. I think you're getting a sense of the breadth of the discussions in Rabat and the complexity of the analysis, and that's really what we wanted to take forward as outcomes. We know that the declaration is extremely powerful, and we also wanted to really be thinking together about concrete steps forward. A lot of what we've been doing in the feminist climate and economic justice movement, working at that nexus over the past few years, is really thinking about how can we advance our demands in a world that is so hostile to them, and where we're tracking the trends of what's happening with debt justice, tax justice, corporate capture, trade justice, ending imperialism and occupation, overall systemic change, climate finance. I know I'm forgetting a few. And the world is moving exactly in the opposite direction of everything we'd want to see. And as we know, even previous gains are being erased. So as powerful as it is to come together and to sit with that and to learn from each other and make connections across regions and really center the analysis of the MENA region and the global majority more broadly, as Yamina and Trisha were saying at the beginning, what we want to do is also offer tools to be able to work together collectively, because we believe in collective action as the only way forward. There are more of us than there are of them. Everyone's telling me to slow down. I'm sorry. I'll try. And so that's why we wanted to create the Rabat Roadmap in addition to the Rabat Declaration. So as you can see, we had Post-its on the wall. We had this incredibly complex spreadsheet. It has each of the demands from the Rabat Declaration, and then we organized 70 pages of notes from the convening into this spreadsheet that has tactics and sites of change, allies. We tried to kind of organize all of that information. But we thought, if we send out this spreadsheet, it might be helpful, but realistically, it's a bit overwhelming. So then we worked with some wonderful colleagues at Data for Change, which is a really special organization that works on data and design and communications for advocacy, to create the Rabat Roadmap that you see on the screen. And one of the things that the roadmap does is to really visibilize what we're talking about when we talk about feminist structural advocacy, or when we talk about the nexus of all of these interconnected injustices, as well as the struggles for justice, and to really show how these things are connected. So I'm going to stop the slides and show you the roadmap itself, which you can find at rabat.wedo.org, which is the shared space for the outcomes for this convening. Yes, there we go. So if you go to rabat.wedo.org, we'll also put this in the chat. You can see the website for the convening, and then the links to the declaration that we just heard about in both Arabic and English, the link to endorse as either an individual or an organization through the form, and then we'll continually update the PDFs with the logos and names of the individuals and organizations that have endorsed. And then you'll see the Rabat Roadmap. So the default is in Arabic. I'm going to present it in English because I don't read Arabic, although I really think I need to learn so I can more fully engage in this work. But the way it works is you can see all of these complicated interconnections between the demands. So these are the same demands that are encapsulated in the roadmap. The policies, so what we're actually asking for in international and regional and national policy advocacy. The tactics, because as Trisha said, they're among the feminist and broader economic and climate justice ecosystem, as well as among those of us who are in the room in Rabat, there's differing tactics about, for example, whether we go to the IMF and World Bank annual meetings and try to engage with their technical staff, whether we protest outside, whether we create our own spaces. And we want the roadmap to be highlighting the need primarily to create our own spaces, to challenge the status quo, to really point to the need to rebuild our faltering, failing multilateralism that's being actively undermined primarily by global minority countries like my own, the US government. But to also be able to see all the tactics in one place so that depending on what you or your organization particularly focuses on, you can kind of chart a potential path forward and see how all of the issues are connected. And then the outcomes is what we really wanted to spotlight. And we even thought at the Rabat meeting that we should kind of start here and work backwards. Like rather than saying, okay, we need a UN convention on debt, a framework convention on debt, a sovereign debt workout mechanism under the UN, which is a longstanding demand of the debt justice community. We are working towards that. But to really unpack why. We don't want the debt convention for its own sake. We want it because we want an end to occupation with sovereignty, rights, and protection of life, land, and community guaranteed. We want to kind of see what are the different tactics we can take to get to that outcome so that we can see whatever slice of this advocacy that we're all working on, we can see how it adds up to this broader whole that's encapsulated in the Rabat Declaration, as well as decades of global majority structural analysis and advocacy and activism for the rights of people on the planet. So just to show you one other example, if you click on one, you can see the webs. And if you want to get back, you click show all. If we look at feminist liberation and gender justice, for example, we can click on that demand and we can see how all of these policies, including on gender disaggregated data, which we didn't have on the agenda for the Rabat convening, but ended up coming up as a really important issue for us to be working on, and how we can't present the kind of policy change we want to see without data that reflects us and our lives and all their diversities. But also the need to demonstrate regenerative, care-centered economic alternatives, or the need for real economic democracy with public participation instead of the elite monopolies that we see governing so many of our states. So whatever you care most about, you can kind of start with. If you, if you're working on climate justice or a just transition, you can see if you're coming at it from a sort of nature, land, and sacred spaces perspective, then how that's also linked to the need to divest from false solutions and market mechanisms. So this is the starting point. We're really grateful to Data for Change who built this really quickly, and we want to see how we can continue to develop it, to use it. We could consider adding a sort of time-bound calendar function. We can build in sites of change so that for those of us looking at COP30, for example, we can kind of design a specific kind of path forward for COP30 that pulls out a lot of the relevant objectives and policies. There's a lot of different things we can do. For taxation, for the UN tax convention process that's ongoing, we have the kind of core policy asks here, but also, linking that to data and to the overall sort of how we can make our global economic system more equitable and more fair, and what are the results of that. Taxation, of course, often linked to the financing of public services, which is hugely important in terms of care for both people and planet, and of course the responsibilities, the socialized responsibilities of women and feminized people for care. So there's a lot of different things we can do with this. We're really looking forward to hearing from you how you might want to use it and your feedback. And this is kind of an experiment, you know, to take the work that we do and try to present it in a different format that we can all use. So I'm now going to turn over to our colleague Tara from the Bretton Woods Project to kick off our open Q&A. So feel welcome to ask your questions about the roadmap or to the speakers or however Tara would like to frame it. So Tara, over to you, and I'll get the slides back up. Thanks so much. I have to, I guess, unmute, like allow you to unmute. 1 second. I don't know why that happened. I will share as I'm getting this going that somebody was trying to hack us. So my computer and the Zoom are acting a little bit strange, but I think we have gotten rid of the person who was trying to do that. So I think we should be all good. Tara, it looks like you're unmuted, so over to you.
Thank you so much, and many thanks and congratulations to Shireen and the declaration formulators and Katie and everybody who worked so hard on this beautiful, beautiful project. It's so amazing to see it come to fruition. And, you know, I think what you've probably heard, those of you who attended the conference or maybe have heard about it now, you've heard this it had so many different aspects to it in terms of feminist organizing, in terms of the kind of methodologies that we talked about a lot and that we tried to put in practice in different ways throughout the actual convening, in terms of the balance between looking at the multilateral spaces that we all work in a critical way, and not just taking it for granted that these are that we have to accept the rules that we are given in these spaces, especially as that system itself is crumbling. It seems to be even more self-defeating to just accept the rules that we're being asked to play by. And then, really having something to come out of it that connects very, very concrete goals and actions, and who is involved and who are the allies and what are the steps that can be taken across a very wide range of interconnected areas, which I think also is such a strength of a feminist analysis as well, to pay attention to the specificity of each particular area and the expertise that goes with it, but also to see how it is interlinked and it is part of the same system. And so really also I think it's very important that to the whole project, that it's a tool that can be used by people. You can just pick it up and use it, as Katie says, demonstrated, and you can look at the area that you're interested in, or you can then start to branch out and look at it in a bigger systemic way as well, which is again just such a beautiful illustration of a structural feminist analysis. So yes, I mean, opening it up to everybody who is in the session. Do you have any comments or questions? How would you hope to use the roadmap and the politics that's contained within the declaration itself? How can you advance the demands of the Rabat Declaration across the different positionalities that we have, across the different areas that we work in, and how do we continue to advance this structural feminist analysis, which is grounded in the MENA region and the Global South more broadly? What ideas do you have? Do you have a burning idea for an action or something that you would like to share? So please do put up your hands or wave or put your question in the chat as well.
I guess there was a question on the chat.
Oh, great.
طب خليني أقرأ سؤال دليلة. How can we endorse the Rabat Declaration within gender-sensitive budgeting in the preparation of national financial law and territorial development plans?
This was Dalila's question. We have also another question from Elaine. I will read your question.
I will read the question. The roadmap analysis tactics are so inspiring. How can we take on the imperial powers' house to stop imperial US and Europowers arms supply to Israel and save surviving Palestinian women and other genders?
Wonderful. And is there any other questions, or shall we start with those two?
I guess we can start with those two. There is a lot of endorsement and love and hugs.
Yeah.
for the Rabat Roadmap. We can
Yes, over to the speakers. You can address either or both of those questions if you like. Who would like to go first?
So we have the gender budgeting question and Fatima?
Fatima, go ahead.
Me,
أنا
I
شايفة
think
رد.
I'm not a speaker. Somebody, I think it's the time for speakers, but I just wanted to react to Dalila's question or suggestion, if you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Fatima from Morocco. I think that Dalila's question is very important when it comes to Morocco's context and the way we have been operating as NGOs, and we have sometimes to be frank to ourselves and transparent and be, how can I say, fair to each other. Budgeting, economic freedom, all the questions that have been raised here and that are being raised are not really and frankly the priority of the feminists, feminists, Moroccan feminists. I'm not denying that there are some groups who are working on gender sensitive budgeting, but not really questioning the policies, whether it's micro or macro economic policies, international community, donors, the World Bank, etc., etc. No, we are not at that stage yet. We really need, I think that this roadmap and this declaration can be really the roadmap to Moroccans, and this can also apply to all the other NGOs, nationally, regionally, etc. I think that Shireen, one of the tasks, the immediate, urgent task, and now we know that there are elections and there are many national stakes taking place. Now, I think that we have to mobilize internally, mobilize forces internally, feminists, and make this declaration a wake-up call to us internally and to all those feminists who are doing great work. We're not denying the work we are doing. So we are change makers, change actors, but we still need to be more involved in political issues, in economic issues, and be vocal when we have to be vocal. Because now we are not, we are, unfortunately, one of the mistakes we made and we are still making is not questioning partners. I don't want to say donors or partners. We are not questioning their policies. We are not, sometimes we accept, sometimes we do with what we have. But really, I think that we have to shift the paradigm and shift the emphasis, the focus, the work, energy to really work on these global issues. One last thing I wanted to say, I'm not really with the global الجنوب العالمي, the global south, because this, I think, emphasizes subordination, emphasizes inferiority of I think that I have all questioned this. I was not in the meeting, but I think that you raised, should we use the global الجانب العالمي, or should we go for global majority, شعوب مستغلة, populations that are exploited, etc., etc. So I think that we also have to look into some concepts, terminology that can fit within the spirit of this group and of the people behind the roadmap. And thank you, Shireen, for inviting us, and thank you for being in Morocco. Did you hear
Thank you
me?
so much, Fatima. Thank you for your
Thank you so much.
for your question as well and your discussion. And those are very important points as well. Would anybody else like to make a point or ask a question? Elaine, would you like to speak to your question or your point a little bit?
Are you calling me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, great, because there's some construction right below me in my building, and it is so loud, so I'm using my AirPods, and I've never done that before for a Zoom meeting on my phone instead of my computer. Anyhow, yeah, since, as some of you know, I am impassioned about all of the issues that you raised. And I focused on just one of the many, many issues you raised because it is such a central example of imperialism in the MENA region, Gaza and Israel, or more than Gaza, the whole Palestinian, whole country of Palestine, you could say, that Western powers, especially the US and European powers, I was just shocked to read the other day that Netherlands is the largest imperial financier of Israel. I thought it was the US. The Third World Network and some others just did a report showing this week. Anyhow, I've been involved in the group called Jewish Voice for Peace for many years that has supported BDS since its founding, and Palestinian rights. We work closely with Palestinians, Palestinian rights groups. We even have Palestinian members of Jewish Voice for Peace. But how? I mean, our tactics include everything from protests on the street virtually every day here in DC and elsewhere, as well as going to Congress constantly. We have people working in Congress to try to win over Congress people to stop financing the arms. Well, what do you do when you have an administration like Trump's that doesn't even listen to Congress's right to declare war and supply arms? And what do you do about the European financiers of the genocide? We're trying our best, but we're against what seem to be formidable imperial powers. So, my question is, how do we make life for women, and as I said, other genders, men and sexual and gender minorities who are in Palestine, livable? They're all being killed. I just don't know how to go about it, even though, we're doing our best. So I was wondering what the Rabat Declaration came up with. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Tara,
go
please
ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, I was just going to say thanks very much, Elaine. And absolutely, it's that is the case that those of us in the Western countries, our governments are fully funding, obviously, and enabling the genocide in Palestine and also in other parts of the world as well, and the economic system that is really, based on valuing profit over human life. And that is what was being done in our name. And that is, something that I think makes really important point in the declaration makes, that it's up to us to confront these systems. I can see also there is a hand from Kiza there. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you so much. I should really congratulate all the comrades for coming up with this wonderful roadmap. I'm with Christian 8, and it's unfortunate I did not get to attend the Rabat meeting, but my colleagues were there. So I have a question on the process that led to this wonderful roadmap. There is often a challenge of state-led processes, but also institutions, even in the global south. I have often asked whether our own regional and, let's say, continental financial institutions are fit for purpose in terms of delivering on economic justice, on climate justice, on finance justice and tax justice, or whether they are really under capture in the whole, in the bigger ecosystem. So my question really is more of really a prodding question, is to inquire whether in Rabat we had discussions about challenging state-led models and whether there is a chance of us looking into giving space to localizing not only the agenda but also even the offshoots when it comes to democratizing global economic governance. I thank you.
Thanks very much for that. That is a really great question, a very, very important question. You know, when we are dealing with the state, you know, the state is an incredibly important actor. You know, we know that also geopolitically, it's the sovereignty of states is something that's really important. It's a really important political demand. And yet the kind of state as the holder of policies also is you know is something that we question as well at the same time. Is it if there are no other questions, and just did we want to come back to the speakers just to respond to some of these points? What do you think, Shireen? Guidance from you.
Of course, I mean, we have already colleagues in the room that I know that they can reply for different questions. Again, this roadmap is our roadmap. I mean, our means our, not only MENAFem or WEDO or Bawsala, or it's ours. And that's why we were keen to make it interactive, to make it more accessible, etc. And we're trying to make it more for all of us to be able to contribute and share if we all agree on the principles, which is our declaration is carrying. So that's why feel free also to speak. And I know, for example, maybe our colleague Emma has a lot to say on different questions. Our colleague Emilia Rice, I saw her here, also has a lot to share on this perspective. But I want to just reply on the Palestine piece. This is actually part of why we thought from the first beginning to have the Rabat convening. We want, all of us are, we see each other every day, most of us, online, in different spaces, in demonstrations, in even closed, high-level colonial closed doors. And it was enough for us after the genocide, enough with faking the solidarity, enough with being driven with events, UN events, annual meetings, different global convening. We have to put forward what we really want and act towards it. I believe on that. We will build the power that we can and need, Elaine, and you are part of this as well. With that, we can build a real solidarity. I remember the moment when my colleague Katie, during the Rabat Roadmap, during the Rabat convening, sat on the panel and said, I believe it's the time for us to go behind the bars. And by us, she was speaking about feminist activists from the North to be behind the bars. Because of what they believe in, because adopting our demands here. So I believe that can have a lot of impacts. I don't want you guys to go to jail, of course, but I mean we have to act, and you have the leverage to work with your governments. You have to act towards this. And I can see Fatma Afid has her hand up, but over to you, Tara.
Yes, go ahead, Fatma.
I was saying that the discussion is the most important part in all of this. We have worked for 2 days in Rabat. It was beautiful. We had amazing sites, different positions, different cultures, and we managed to reach this declaration that is strong enough and that requires different phases to get to those 6 important points. I suggest that the first thing we do is mobilization to inform about this declaration. Besides working within our institutions, we need to work on all levels with all our friends. Katie says, do we go to IMF meetings? Yes, we go to IMF meetings. IMF has held a meeting in Marrakesh. We were there and we had a parallel summit and we talked about our alternatives as people, as an alternative line to the policy of the IMF. The same goes for UN meetings. We ought to be there. We are currently facing a very important phase we need to think about with Brazil, with COP30. COP30 will see the discussion of so many points. We did not get the opportunity yet to see who can go, but those who can should go and carry that declaration with them and distribute it onto the civil society. This declaration is beautiful, and I would like to thank Katie for talking about it, for presenting it, and how we will reach that result. It is a beautiful system and model, and we need to keep working in order for it to become even clearer with more and more about it. But what I would like to confirm is about immigration as it is today in our agenda. It doesn't happen in any other place in the world. Immigration, climate, new colonialism, all of this, I think, stems from the fact that we need to understand this declaration. We need to really let all this set to know exactly what we want to work on. I would like to thank our sister for all of her interventions, all the information she brought that are very important as we need to work with the feminist groups. But how did those feminist groups work? What about these ideas? Can we understand? Can we present to people who are capable of understanding what we are talking about? We cannot be both here and there. We cannot be with different people. We need to make sure that we are with with everyone very clear, and we describe our ideas very clearly. We have the ministerial manifesto and the communist one, and now we have a feminist manifesto, and this is our feminist declaration where we want to be here with all our strength, and because this was written with an activist point of view, with activists that have really the full commitment and understanding of this work. And I think that through dividing this topic through subtopics, we can try and use every single possibility to defend this declaration, as Fatima said, and I agree with her, and as Shireen said as well. We go back to our local communities. How can we use this for women working in farms, to immigrants, to marginalized people? This should be a real roadmap for us in our work, in our communities, and in our relations, and in our work and groupings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fatma, for that. That's absolutely the spirit of the declaration. Thank you for expressing that so well. Maybe we have time for one last point before I hand back to Shireen and the declaration authors. Fiona, would you like to come and express your point that you put in the chat so well in a few words?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks so much, Tara. I'll be quick. I'm Fiona with Oxfam. This was a more pragmatic question. I agree. You know, this theory of everything, as Emma shared earlier in the chat, is beautiful and necessary. And I really appreciate how the analysis and the logics are all interrelated. But more pragmatically, we do need to have an agreement amongst one another as movement leaders and builders and feminists together to build an infrastructure. And infrastructure requires funding our work and or financing and or an agreement that, you know, I mean, commonly stated in the US in movement spaces is that the movement will not be funded, it will not be televised, et cetera. So I just think we need to have deeper discussion about this and be very clear what this infrastructure actually looks like, what our positionality is within this ecosystem, what our roles and responsibilities are within the ecosystem based on where we are positioned, and how it is actually different and divergent from UN platforms like related to Beijing 30+ or CSW, which is more formalized and maybe at some points even corporatized. And being very clear amongst ourselves what our infrastructure looks like, what bolsters the principles, theories, and analysis that have been pulled together for this roadmap.
Thank you so much for that question. And I think it really speaks to the idea that, you know, this convening was the first convening to build something akin to what exactly you're describing, an infrastructure. You know, I'm old enough to remember when we were in the streets and we, you know, went into the rooms with, you know, in the multilateral spaces. But at that point, you know, we went into those rooms with the ideas of the, you know, the principles that we had. And I think now we need to kind of revisit this and start to actually build an infrastructure that exists between us and outside of those rooms. And this is something of, you know, an attempt to do that. So I think there is a lot more work that needs to be done there. So for the next steps, I will hand back to Shireen and the declaration writers to tell us about how it is going to be built. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tara, and thanks a lot for all the interventions. Were very inspiring, and thank you also for putting next steps. Actually, Elaine, Fiona, and Amy put us into the next steps mood, and also Fatna, Afid, thanks a lot. That is very important, and very important that is coming out from this collectively. For the next steps that we are collectively planning out of the Rabat Roadmap is that we're going to have a strategy session and a feminist party as well. And people who attend the annual meetings in DC knows exactly what our feminist parties means. So we are going to start with the strategy session for those who missed the convening in Rabat, to be able to disseminate more the voice and to collect more voice in endorsement and solidarity with. The second event will be during the COP in Brazil, the Feminist and Decolonial Just Transition Roundtable. The main topic is the Rabat Declaration and the Rabat Roadmap. So looking forward to this discussion. In between, we are going to have different activities before the end of the year, like the launching of the inequality report, inequality review of the civil society around the fossil fuels investments, and the launching of the debt strategy report and website for MENA, the IFIs and debt for MENA. And in January, at the beginning of January 2026, we also going to launch the Feminist Critical Trend report. And please also share the next steps that you can see within the context of the Rabat Roadmap and what we can do together. We can add to the list what already was mentioned from colleagues here. But for the sake, I know that we run out of time. Someone guide me here.
Yes, time to wrap up.
Okay, so Katie, I will please take the floor and I will come at the end.
All I'm going to say is thank you. It's truly the honor of my career and lifetime to be working with all of you on this. It's so important. We know how deep and broad the challenges are and how much worse the situation's getting every day. But we know that our hope is with each other. So thank you to our interpreters for allowing us to have a multilingual space. Thank you to our drafting team. Thank you to my dear Shireen and all at MENAFem, and thank you to all of you for being with us. Back to you, Shireen.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie. I would like to thank all my colleagues, all my comrades who have worked on setting the Rabat Roadmap and who helped us reach that point. I want to say today we are not only launching a roadmap, but we are launching a promise of resistance, of building a future that is based on a feminist vision of justice. And Rabat, we show that we are all interlinked, our debts, our that justice, our freedom is all linked. It is all about one effort. This is what is mentioned. This is the Rabat Roadmap. This is our starting point. It is what will take us to have louder voices that are followed by the Global South. I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank everyone who attended. Thank you for being with us and thank you for carrying this struggle forward.